Had a good weekend so far. 3 for 6. She moves from 9 to 6 and now to the 2-hole.
Henderson's an interesting one too, because she's somebody who typically has been known as more of a slapper coming from the left side, but a lot of the hits that she's gotten this weekend, she's been standing in there and swinging away. Her swing looks really good, driving the ball to all parts of the field, and big move for Bev Smith to move her up into that 2 spot today.
Big cut here, fouled down the left field line. Riley Blampede, a senior, the best bat on this team so far, leads them in average runs scored, hits, did a couple home runs as well for a team who doesn't provide a ton of pop. They're last in the SEC in home runs. 1-2, misses outside. South Carolina, 9 newcomers, 4 freshmen, 5 transfers. I really like how Bev Smith has put this roster together a year after a really great postseason run in the SEC tournament and then making the regional final in Tallahassee. Nice grab from behind the plate. That's Julia Cottrell making the sliding catch for out number 1.
Jackie, you and I have been talking all week about what's going to be the difference maker in this series, and the first thing that I told you was it was going to be all about the defense. And Julia Cottrell, that is not an easy play for a catcher to make, but she keeps her mask on, tracks it all the way down that first baseline, makes that nice diving grab for out number 1.
Swinging first pitch, hits softly at Coco Woolley. Carly Henderson up there to swing it this weekend, but retired on 1 pitch for the second out.
And we talked about it before too, how Carly Henderson can slap, she can hit away, and it does become a bit of a difficult situation for the defenses, especially the shortstops. You're not exactly sure where you want to play her, but Coco Woolley able to field that one easily.
Kiana Jones, the designated player, watches the first pitch for strike 1. And a redshirt senior from British Columbia, transfer from North Carolina where she spent 2 seasons. Played for Donna Papa, who was the longtime North Carolina coach, now retired, but coached Bev Smith as a player, coached her as an assistant coach. So obviously a connection there for Kiana Jones to make her way to South Carolina. 0-2, swings through it. A great start for Brooke Vestal in the circle. 1-2-3. Chapman just threw 73 pitches to get it done.
Talk about efficiency with those 73 pitches in the perfect game, but that's something that gives somebody like Jory Hurd a ton of confidence coming into this SEC season. She's really going to work all quadrants of the strike zone, but they've been working on her being aggressive on the inside part of the plate, specifically to those left-handed batters, and I like what I've seen from her so far this season, not being afraid to run those curveballs in on the hands of those lefties.
Misses up top with her first pitch. Take a look at this Texas A&M lineup. Coco Woolley to lead things off. Still looking for her first hit of the weekend. Jumps ahead 2-0. Ton of power for this team. Ayanna Coleman, her second straight start. 1 for 3 with an RBI and a sac bunt yesterday.
Ayanna Coleman's spot in the lineup is going to be particularly important today too, because Julia Cottrell has walked already, what, 4 times already in this series, so it's going to be important for whoever's batting behind Cottrell to be able to step up. And Coleman historically has been more of a pinch hitter, but getting the start now 2 games in a row for A&M.
Coco Woolley does her job in that leadoff spot. She walks to give them a runner on.
Texas Aggie center fielder number 77, Jasmine Hill.
Hurd, a part of a very young pitching staff, but talented. Elena Vaughter, the veteran. We haven't seen Bailey Bettenbaugh this season, who's a 5th year. She's been out so far. But the other 3, when you look at Jory Hurd, Sage Margetko, and Regan Bennett, I should say, very talented, but a lot of youth there.
And I think they can learn a lot from somebody like Elena Vaughter and the experience that she brings in. Even if you don't throw the same repertoire of pitches, you can learn from her mentality.
Nice throw down by Desiderio, but not in time. That's the first strike from Hurd after 5 straight balls. Jasmine Hill, talk about using the transfer portal well. Somebody that Trisha Ford was very familiar with from her time in Tempe. Jasmine Hill with and without Trisha Ford and Jeff Harger her numbers incredible. 350 plus career hitter with Ford, 220 last year in the one season without her.
You can tell that she's definitely feeling her swing as of late. She has been really confident in the box. You can even tell on her takes how confident she is as Coco Woolley slides in safely into second base after that ball got away from Julia Desiderio back behind the plate.
Can you relate to that as a hitter? Somebody like Jasmine Hill, just maybe different verbiage and a few different things as far as what she was seeing and hearing last year as she strikes out?
Yeah, there definitely could be. It's interesting because when you look at coaching and hitting coaching in particular, a lot of times you're hearing the same message, but maybe somebody just presents it to you in a different way. And head coach Trisha Ford said they were really excited to get Jasmine Hill back at Texas A&M and be able to coach her again. And she's somebody that has so much power and can do so many things for this A&M offense. And she's going to be a huge part of this lineup moving forward through the rest of this season.
Trinity Cannon, last night's hero, the solo shot to walk it off in the 10th inning. He goes after the rise ball, swings through it. She's down 0-2. I love a hack like that from a big-time power hitter.
You say that because you know I like to swing at those rise balls up over my head, too.
You would never do that. Come on.
We could probably put together a whole, 3-minute highlight reel of me just swinging at pitches that I probably shouldn't have, but in my head, I thought I had a chance.
This is into right field and deep, back to the warning track, but caught there by Carly Henderson. There's 2 outs. Coco Woolley is up to third base, though.
Smart base running there by Coco Woolley to advance on that fly ball deep out to right field. Trinity Cannon getting a good piece of barrel on that pitch. Just underneath it a bit, but still a productive out. Moves that runner an additional 60 feet. And it brings up Julia Cottrell.
Jory Hurd dance around a leadoff walk here in the first inning. Gets the outside corner against the catcher Cottrell. 1 for 2 on the weekend. 5 walks in the first 2 games of the series. Texas A&M just 3 for 18 with 2 RBIs with runners in scoring position this weekend. It's been an issue really for both teams. Credit that to some really good pitching, but I'm sure each coach is thinking we have left a lot of opportunities out there. 1-1 from the sophomore Hurd, misses upstairs.
Jory Hurd trying to go to that off-speed pitch and a 1-1 count to Cottrell. Just hung onto that pitch a bit too long. Cottrell's one of those really aggressive hitters, especially with a runner in scoring position. If she sees something close, she's going to take a hack. Prime example right there, a pitch on the outside part of the plate. Looked like a curveball actually moving up and away to Cottrell, coming in at 68 miles per hour. Took a swing at that one, but I like that location even in a 2-1 count, just keeping it on the outside part of the plate.
2-2. Too far outside that time, full count. Woolley started it with a walk. She's made her way around with a stolen base and advancing on a fly out. 3-2 to Cottrell. And she walks with 2 away. That's number 6 on the weekend.
Just go ahead and add to that walk tally for Julia Cottrell this weekend. And we talked about it already in this ballgame, how important it was going to be for somebody like Ayanna Coleman to step up in that 5 spot in the lineup, knowing that Cottrell has been pitched around quite a bit in this series. And now here with 2 runners on base, 2 away in the bottom of the first, big scoring opportunity for A&M.
Coleman, a local product from College Station. Hit a couple long balls this season, 9 RBIs. The lineup, the numbers are almost laughable when you go up and down this lineup of what they've done so far this season. Big swing right there for strike 1.
A lot of different weapons in this offense, too. Of course, you've got a lot of power potential in the middle of the order, but you've also got some speed mixed in there. Somebody like Coco Woolley in that leadoff spot or Kennedy Powell in that 9 spot.
Yeah, those are their top 2 stolen base leaders, both of them 9 or more on the season. Year 2 for Trisha Ford. Things really starting to take shape. They doubled their SEC win total in her first season from the year before. 1-2. Fouled down the left field line. They return 80% of their hits and home runs, 75% of their runs and RBIs from last season. And then you add in Jasmine Hill from Arizona State and Kennedy Powell, who had a tremendous freshman year at UCLA. Swings through it, the off speed from Hurd to dance out of a first and third jam.
You know, it was interesting hearing from Trisha Ford when she talks about how year 2 can oftentimes be the most difficult as far as going to a new program, starting a new program. First year, you're trying to learn all the different personalities that are on your team, and year 2, you're trying to implement some of the visions that you have for that program. She wants them this year to get back to playing what she calls Aggie softball. She used that term quite a bit when we were talking to her earlier on this week in the coaches call. She said she wants them to play with that grittiness, that competitiveness, and specifically the focus that she wants to see even when the team's out there, when they're tired, when they're worn out. She still wants to see that focus come into play every single pitch of the ball game.
Speaking of, that was a great pitch for strike 2 to Anaya Black. Anaya 0 for 6, 5 strikeouts, and has been hit by a pitch this weekend and swings through that one.
You can see just
continue.
That late movement that Brooke Vestal has on those pitches. Coming out of her hand, it looks like it's going to be a curveball that's going to sit on the outside part of the plate to a righty, and look at that tight spin and movement and where that ball ends up. It ends up in the left-handed batter's box, but I guarantee out of the hand, it looked like it was going to be a strike on the outside part of the plate.
They bottled her up this weekend, and Anaya Black's had a great start to the year. Now Carly Shelton's turn. She's got a couple hits. 1-0 count for Vestal, who has back-to-back strikeouts. Brooke Vestal comes in, the one transfer on the pitching staff to help fill the void left by Madison Preston. She was 4th in innings pitched for this team last year, a 2.51 ERA. Through the right side, looked like it clipped the glove of Trinity Cannon. That puts Carly Shelton aboard with 1 out.
Shelton, a young lefty in this offense for South Carolina, puts her toes practically on the chalk line. You can see where she strides and gets around this outside pitch, hits it off the end just a little bit. But look at where Trinity Cannon and Rylan Wiggins are lined up on the right side of the infield. Trinity Cannon back behind the plate. That's something that she's got to be able to go after and make that ground ball play.
First pitch swinging into center field, running grab out there by Jasmine Hill, and there's 2 outs.
Those little things, those little defensive plays, those are the types of defensive plays that you need to see being made as the season goes on. And a quick out after that ball got through the right side of the infield by Brooke Vestal. She's doing a really good job of just settling in and working one pitch at a time.
Saw how much the miscues defensively hurt South Carolina in game 1. Couple errors leading to runs in that one. Such a great pitching staff. The margin of error in this opening series has been so small for both teams. There's some chirping going on between the fans and the South Carolina third base coach. Ground ball left side. I'm loving that there's been a little heat in this one.
It's been a heated series so far this weekend, but you like to see that fire and competitiveness all along the field. Fans getting into it too.
Davis Nyman, one of the crown jewels in the nation for softball facilities here at Texas A&M. They are averaging big-time attendance numbers this year. The success of the program so far this season has matched this incredible facility. It's just a touch low on the 1-2 pitch.
Really good location for that drop ball. Right at the knees, you can see her moving her pitches all throughout the strike zone, really keeping these batters guessing, not just with the locations, but with the speeds in which she's throwing these pitches as well.
2-2 to Gonzalez. That misses low. 2 good eyes in a row from Marissa Gonzalez, the left fielder. Junior from Kingsburg, California. Entered the series with 7 hits. 5 of the 7 came in the first 7 games of the season. She swings through that one. Vestal's third. Did a great job retooling this roster.
Coach Smith said too that a lot of the returning players coming into this season took a lot of and gained a lot of confidence from that postseason run last season, taking it into this year, and got a chance to catch up with her before this series. And she said that she doesn't think that this team has played their best ball yet, and that really excites her about moving forward through SEC play, to be able to see the potential and unlock that potential throughout the next few weekends in SEC play. And plus, she said she's looking forward to preparing for 1 opponent on a weekend rather than 5 opponents.
Hard hit ground ball. There's out number 1 to retire Keely Williams.
It's always difficult when you're trying to come up with all of those pitching game plans for 5 different teams in one weekend, and then you get to shift to SEC play and you get to spend the entire week prepping just for one team, trying to come up with hitting game plans for the opposing pitchers, and for Coach Bev Smith, of course, coming up with the pitching plans to go up against the opposing team.
Entered the weekend 18-2 on a 7-game winning streak. And it won't make you feel any better about the losses in these first 2 games, but you do have to think they're feeling pretty good. They've been there. It's not like they've been blown out here in College Station. They've been in these games. It's just been a couple miscues defensively, not capitalizing on base runners on the offensive side.
Yeah, it's just those a couple of timely hits that they're missing in this series. I think of yesterday when we already talked about Brooke Vestal coming into the game, bases loaded situation, and them not being able to get another run with bases loaded. The only run that they scored yesterday was brought in via the walk. So having more people top to bottom at that offense, be able to come through in those clutch situations, that's something that she's definitely looking for her offense to do moving forward.
Fouled straight back, 2-2 count. South Carolina's pitching staff has held Texas A&M's lineup, who normally averages 352 at the plate, to a 192 average as a team. You were wondering about the legitimacy of this South Carolina pitching staff. You have learned this weekend that it is all that it is cracked up to be through the first 20 games of the season entering SEC play.
And I like that they have a little bit of everything. You're seeing somebody like Jory Hurd getting the start today for South Carolina, moving the ball well throughout the zone and aggressive on the inside parts of the plate to the righties and to the lefties.
Swing and a miss.
Example there. Goes up and inside to Allie Enright, gets it right up and underneath the hands. Not an easy pitch as a right-handed batter to get your hands extended on, but good rotation on this pitch. I love the location down and inside, shows the confidence that she has in her abilities, throwing that pitch in a 3-2 count and just blowing it by Enright. Like we said, you've got somebody like her to throw more upspin, to work both sides of the plate, but then you've got Elena Vaughter working it hard down in the zone.
First pitch swinging for Rylan Wiggins into right field, and it's caught out there by Henderson. 1, 2, 3, we go. And
teach everybody, especially the young pitchers on that staff, just to try to educate them on the experience that Vaughter gained, but also you bring over SEC transfers like Denver Bryant and Bree Warren, people that have been around the league for a long time and can teach some of the young players on the Gamecocks about what it's like to compete day in and day out in the SEC.
Strike 1. Texas A&M looking to, or excuse me, South Carolina looking to get on the board here in the top of the third. 8-9-1, Julia Desiderio, the catcher, to lead things off. Out straight back 1-2. What's the biggest difference as we enter SEC play? What shifts for you as a player?
The 3-game series is a lot more difficult when you're in it than when you look at it from the outside perspective, because there's so much film, because there's so many stats and analytics, so much strategy that goes into every single game. Really nice pitch there by Brooke Vestal, another strikeout on the day for her. But the more and more an opponent sees you, the more information they have about possibly holes in your swing, or maybe something about the team. Maybe there's holes in the defense that they can try to exploit. When you're playing the same team over and over and over again, that's when it really becomes especially difficult to come out with sweeps in the SEC, because every single team is so good and knows so much about their opponents.
9-hole Brooke Blankenship, 1 for 5 on the weekend with a walk. Blankenship, a junior from Hudson, Florida, transferred from Florida State last year, so this is her second season as a Gamecock, and she's ahead 2-0. Vestal, 5 of 9 batters faced this first time through. First pitch strikes. Working quickly as well. You see that pitch clock behind the plate, usually around the 12-second mark or maybe even more.
She doesn't waste any time when she's out there in the circle, and this is actually the first time that she had gotten to a 2-0 count, so even those at-bats where she wasn't throwing a first pitch strike, she was pumping another one in there right after that, and that can speed up the batter as well, along with that pitch clock.
Brooke Vestal gets it, right? We're in an entertainment industry here. She gets it. We're moving.
You find that pitchers can benefit from that too, not taking too much time to think in between pitches, just getting out there and getting after the very next pitch.
Hit high into center field. Hill roams over, but Enright's under it. 2 outs. Five straight retired for Vestal. The only batter that reached was Carly Shelton. It was originally ruled a single, but they changed that to an error on the first baseman, Trinity Cannon. Back to the top of the order in Blampede. Hard swing into foul territory, just barely, for Kennedy Powell at third base. Blampede down to 387, entered the series at 403 average. Watch his strike two. It's a great spot from Vestal. What are you seeing from Brooke Vestal early on that stands out?
Tons of spin, that increase in velocity just enough to where the mix in her speeds of the pitches that she's throwing are really throwing these batters off balance.
Hit hard left side and stabbed over there at third base by Powell. Another 1-2-3 inning for Brooke Vestal. South Carolina sweeping the series in Columbia. They also beat Texas A&M in extra innings of the SEC tournament. And then the Gamecocks' last trip here to Bryan College Station was a sweep as well back in 2021 for the Aggies.
And I guarantee it was a point of emphasis for Texas A&M coming into this weekend to try to turn the pages on what's happened the past couple of years.
Bunt laid down, that is beautiful, and a spinner as Kennedy Powell is aboard from that 9 spot.
For as much power that you see throughout this A&M offense, they do have a really good variety of speed. Nice bunt laid down here right in front of home plate, just in no man's land. Nobody can even make a play on this bunt because she was able to deaden it so much on the end of the bat. No throw attempted over at first base, and the leadoff runner on board for the Aggies.
Her first hit of the weekend, and some dangerous speed over there. Now Woolley wants to do it as well. Pretty good one. They get the out. The runner, though, caught in a rundown now between second and third, and they got her. Or no, safe, got around the tag. It looked like it was laid down, but the acrobatics from Kennedy Powell gets her back to second base.
Powell was really aggressive rounding second after that bunt was laid down by Coco Woolley because she knew that they were going to make that throw over to first base. She rounds second base hard, then decides last minute to hold up, try to get back to 2. And it did look like from that angle at least that she did avoid that tag in that rundown between second and third base. taking off hard from first base. Eyes on it the entire time. Look how hard she rounds second here. Decides to hold up right at the last minute. Gets into this rundown between second and third. A really good dive to try to avoid the tag there. Hard to tell from that angle. Bit of a matrix move getting back into second base.
Been a little something there too. The call is under review. Look like they're sure that Kennedy Powell loved the tag. Maybe.
It's been intense between these two teams.
Yeah. Blankenship out at shortstop. No challenge, as a matter of fact. Dangerous part of the order with the speed of Powell at second base. And Smith out to talk to home plate umpire Scott Mayer. Looks like that's going to do it for Jory Hurd in a tough spot. They will make a change.
Velocity that she'll bring in there in the mid-60s.
Entered the weekend tied for the lead in innings pitched on the team. Leads South Carolina in strikeouts. This is an extremely talented true freshman, but in a tough spot here. 2, 3, 4 due up next. Jasmine Hill is the first hitter she'll face. Couple doubles for Hill in game 1 of the weekend. She's second for Texas A&M with 7 home runs, and this is hit well into left field down the line, but foul. Looks like she might have got that off the end of the bat.
Just a bit early on that swing. They started her off with a pitch on the outside part of the plate, a rise ball working up in the zone, and tried to bring it back inside to Jasmine Hill, but because she has so much power, decided to take a bit off of that pitch, got her out in front, and got this count to even.
1-1. Up and in, ball 2. The accolades for Sage Margetko. The list is long. 2023 USA Today High School Sports Awards, National Softball Player of the Year, 2-time Illinois Gatorade Player of the Year, and had a pretty good pitching coach. Nancy Evans, if that name sounds familiar to her, the Arizona legend, 3-time national champion in the mid-90s, still the #1 winning percentage in NCAA history, right ahead of someone else you might have heard of, Lisa Fernandez.
A couple of big powerhouse Pac-12 pitchers.
Just a little bit, just a little bit. First and second, though, as Margetko walks Jazz Hill.
Texas Aggie first baseman number 6, Trinity Cannon.
Now it's Trinity Cannon. 8 home runs to lead the best power hitting team in the SEC. That misses. Ball 1. Cannon struck out and lined out against Margetko yesterday. 1-0 hit into right field and deep toward the wall. It's off the wall. The runners had to hold for just a second. Now both of them trying to come around, and they will both score. Cannon to third, and Texas A&M opens the scoring in the third.
A&M just 3 for 18 with runners in scoring position before this at-bat throughout the series, but Trinity Cannon comes up with 2 runners on board and goes with this pitch, utilizes the back leg drive to get it going to the opposite field over the head of Carly Henderson out there in right field, and because it ricochets so hard off of that wall in right, it allows Jasmine Hill to score all the way from first base on that ball hit out to right field. A piece of really clutch hitting yet again coming off the bat of Trinity Cannon in this series.
Now Cottrell still just 1 away. Swings through the off speed. That is a beautiful pitch.
Really deceptive too. You could just tell by how far out in front Julia Cottrell was on that swing. I think she was trying to shoot that one over the scoreboard in left field with that big old hack she just took.
Hadn't had a chance to swing too much this weekend. Takes that on the inside corner for strike 2. Walked in the first inning for number 6 of the weekend. Struck out looking and walked yesterday against Marjetko. Fouls that straight back. Oh, 2. Far outside on the off-speed pitch. Cottrell preseason All-SEC after a career year last season. Third-team All-American. 10 home runs, 43 RBIs, both led Texas A&M. 2-2. Scary part about the SEC, Texas A&M picked 8th in the preseason poll. As good as this team looks on paper and has been on the field producing, it just shows you the depth of this conference.
When you look back to some of their games over the past couple of seasons too, I really do feel like there were several games that could have gone either way, but the defense was the biggest difference maker in a lot of those losses for them.
Cottrell swings through it, 2 outs.
Big swing and miss at that changeup. Marjetko bouncing right back after that triple off the bat of Cannon, comes right back and gets a big strikeout of Julia Cottrell here. Just not able to read that changeup out of her hand. Good deception on that pitch. Tells you that she's got the same speed in her windup, going through the motion, way out in front.
Just a touch inside Diana Coleman. Struck out swinging the first trip to the plate against Jory Hurd. Two and 0. Put your pitcher's hat on for me. What's the toughest part for a freshman in the SEC?
I think trying to slow the game down, especially with that action clock. Things can get sped up really quickly.
Skied into right field. Nice job by Henderson to call off Shelton. Nothing. We're joined by the Gamecocks head coach, Beverly Smith. Coach, appreciate the time. Looking at Sage Marjetko, a couple base runners there, but ended up getting out of that jam. What went into the decision to bring her in that spot?
Well, it was kind of our game plan all along. I think Sage is a good matchup for their righties, and she does a nice job spinning the ball up, so we're hoping to get some swings and misses there.
And Coach, coming into this weekend, we knew it was going to be a great matchup between pitching on both sides, and Brooke Vestal spinning it pretty good out there. What do you want to see adjustment-wise from your offense moving forward?
Yeah, I think this has been a great matchup, right? Two awesome games, and we've certainly left a lot of base runners. We need that timely hit.
Good luck, Coach. Thanks for the time.
Thank you.
That's exactly what we've talked about, Madison, is they've had their opportunities. It's not like they haven't had base runners. It's just been the timely hit that's been missing so far, and give a lot of credit to Texas A&M's pitching staff as well.
And a couple of big strikeouts, too, from Brooke Vestal, working all of her pitches and working them outside of the zone to get those big swings and misses. And oftentimes when we talk about coming through with that timely piece of hitting, it can go back to your pitch selection as a batter. Are you looking for the right pitch in that situation? Are you letting the moment get too big, trying to swing outside of yourself to force something to happen? Oftentimes really good things can happen when you just go back to the simple way of thinking of just passing the bat along to your teammate, whether it's a base hit or maybe even a walk or a hit by pitch, just something to try to get a bit more momentum back into your dugout side.
2-3-4 would be a good time to do it. That's fouled back for strike 2. Carly Henderson, Kiana Jones, and Aya Black due up for South Carolina here in the 4th. One-two pitch coming from Brooke Vestal. That is a great location for strikeout number 5.
And she is mixing speeds all over the place. You can tell by the way that Carly Henderson lands on this take how she was anticipating that pitch coming in much harder than it actually did. She'll vary the speeds anywhere from the low 60s, to the high 50s, and just that slight change in speeds can really throw off a batter's timing.
To the 3-hole, Kiana Jones Struck out swinging her first trip to the plate. Hit hard left side and stabbed by Powell at third base.
And sometimes when you finally get a good pitch to hit and you square it up, it happens to go right to a defender. A really nice play by Kennedy Powell over at third base. She was playing about a step in front of third. Kiana Jones just sits back on this off speed and turns on it. Hard line drive over to third base. A couple of times that has happened to Jones so far in this series. She has such professional at bats. She's so good at hitting those off speed pitches, but that one just happened to go right to Powell.
Here's the defense behind Vestal. Kennedy Powell's made a couple nice plays over there. The one error on a tough play goes against Trinity Cannon. That's the only base runner so far for South Carolina. That came in the second inning. Naya Black trying to keep things alive with 2 outs. One of the top bats on this South Carolina team so far this season. Did she go? Yes, she did. Anaya Black, in her second season, she transferred from Georgia. Off speed, another great location, 2-2. Vestal 7 straight retired, 5 strikeouts, 2-2. Hit left side, look who it is, Kennedy Powell again. And it's 1-2-3 back-to-back innings for Brooke Vestal, who is absolutely spinning it right now for Texas. Trisha Ford and Coach Brooke Vestal, you told us this week she had a great fall. You wanted to get her back to that. She is in great rhythm today. What are you seeing from her? Hey, Coach, can you hear us? I think we're having some issues with Trisha Ford's headset right now. If you were Trisha Ford and I asked you, what do you like about Brooke Vestal, what would you have told me?
Love some technical difficulties every once in a while. It happens. It happens. She was ready for us, though. But, no, Brooke Vestal's just been doing a phenomenal job of moving the ball all throughout the zone and varying her speeds, too. And we talked about in the last inning just about how some of the takes that she's getting, the batters are way out in front. That's something that you can tell when a pitcher is spinning the ball really well.
Coach, can you hear us?
I am. I can.
Hey,
Yeah.
we're going to one question for you. Brooke Vestal absolutely spinning it. Told us she had a great fall. What are you seeing from her?
I think she's just doing Brooke Vestal things out there. That's what that kid does. She spins the heck out of the ball. Her velo has increased dramatically this year, and I'm just happy to see her go out there and compete and be Brooke.
Appreciate the time, Coach. Thank you.
Thank you.
2-0 A&M leading South Carolina. Vestal has to be feeling really good. And it's so big, isn't it, Madison? You see Emily Kennedy, you've got the ace. They've got some talent behind her, too. Brooke Vestal, could you add that, third arm transferred from Ole Miss? Hasn't had the greatest start to the season, but we heard from Trisha Ford this week. Had a really good fall, just trying to get her back in that groove.
And it's games like this that can really help your confidence as a pitcher, too. Going out there and throwing the way that she's throwing, even look back to yesterday's ball game and the situation that she came into in this series. I think she's showing her versatility that not only can she be a starting pitcher, but she can also come into those tough situations because she throws so many different speeds, so many different pitches, and she just looks calm, cool, and collected out there. And the other thing I think about, too, is I feel like the way the pitchers have performed for Texas A&M this weekend gives the offense a lot of confidence, too. You often feel like there's a bit of pressure taken off of your shoulders when you don't think you have to go out there and score 6-7 runs every single game.
Keely Williams swings through that pitch from Sage Marjetko for the first out of the inning.
And as good as the A&M pitching has been, the South Carolina pitching has been great, too. It's just been a matter of a couple of timely hits for A&M side of things. But Sage Marjetko, the freshman, a really bright future for her. She's done a nice job coming into this game and moving the ball all throughout the zone as well.
Tip of the cap to both coaches this week, who are both pitching-minded coaches, but the management of these staffs, too. And I think we were both maybe a little surprised to see the aces in those first 2 games, but they saw an opportunity. I mean, it was such a close game, and why not go to your #1 arm to try and get the win?
They were going all out for that game too, and you're right, Chucky, we were watching that game and really surprised that both coaches brought in Elena Vaughter for South Carolina and Emily Kennedy for Texas A&M, and that game ended up going into extra innings, so both of them practically threw an entire game, even though they came in relief in game 2. Big question mark was coming into game 3, who were both coaches going to throw here? And it's still been another tight game. You see Emily Kennedy getting loose out there in the Texas A&M bullpen. Elena Vaughter was up just a few innings ago, getting loose in the South Carolina bullpen, so it looks like both pitchers are ready if they're needed in this game 3.
2-1 from Marjetko. Ground ball left side, high chopper, tough to handle. Blankenship can't smother it. One out base runner in the form of Allie Enright.
Allie Enright's one of the batters in this A&M offense that has improved her numbers significantly already from last season. She gets way on top of this screwball, working its way inside. You can see the way that she hovers with that front foot, gets her weight loaded up into that back leg, and just muscles it enough over the head of Zoe Leno at third base, and then just past the backhanded glove of Brooke Blankenship at shortstop to squeak it through to left field for a base hit.
First pitch swinging for Rylan Wiggins. She fouls it straight back. Flied out to right field, her first trip to the plate. For Enright, already more hits, more home runs, more RBIs, and has matched her doubles total from a season ago. Hit 210 last year.
Yeah, she was really excited.
This year.
Yeah, really excited just about the hard work that she's put in the offseason. And gave a lot of credit, too, to the travel ball program that she grew up playing for. Coach Gary Fawcett, just somebody who was so instrumental in not just Allie Enright's playing career, but also my playing career as well. I played for the SoCal Choppers growing up, and Gary passed away recently, but cannot say thank you enough to all of the things that he was able to contribute, not just for us, but just for so many young softball players out there in Southern California, and the grittiness and the competitiveness that he instilled in all of us that we carried throughout our playing careers.
Tricia Ford, nothing but good things to say about him as well. And you look at her respect for that level of the game, and it doesn't go much further than her assistant coaches, Jeff Harger, Russ Heffley, both head coaches of the 18 Gold Central California Dirt Dogs. Plucked them off there, said she's resilient in that respect as far as convincing them to join her staff. Jeff Harger's been instrumental in great hitters for Tricia Ford, who really specializes on the pitching side of things. Three-two skied, foul territory and out of play.
You do see a common theme with especially the lower half of these Texas A&M batters, and things can look a little bit different, but really as a batter you're trying to be on time for the pitch, and so that's something that he focuses on. You can see some of them almost having their front foot float up in the air a bit in their stride, and that's just a matter of them trying to get on time, trying to utilize that back leg to drive through their swing. And it's something that has worked out very well for a lot of these Texas A&M batters. And being on time, when you're on time, when you're up in the box, a lot of good things are going to happen. And I believe that that's why you're seeing a lot of those power numbers jump off of the page for this A&M offense.
Jeff Harger was the first to cave and join Tricia Ford. And their initial year together was at Fresno State. Then he was with her 5 years at Arizona State. Swing and a miss, throw down to second. Strike him out, throw him out for Marjetko, and Desiderio behind the plate. Just what South Carolina...
Strikeouts that are bunching up with runners on board, that's what you want to try to limit, those unproductive outs when you've got runners on base or runners in scoring position, and that's something that has really plagued South Carolina throughout this series. And it's something that they're going to have to improve moving forward. I know it's just the first weekend in SEC play, but you can always learn something from every single game that you play, especially in a conference like the SEC. And you want to try to be able to hone in on the pitch selection when you're up there with runners in scoring position. Really try to think about what the opponent's trying to get you to do in that particular at-bat. Is it a rise ball pitcher? Are they going to try to get you to hit a fly ball out to the outfield? Or is it a drop ball pitcher? Do they want you to hit a ground ball to the left side to get out of the inning? Those are the types of things and conversations that have to happen before you step into the box to try to beat a team like Texas A&M, and no doubt that this South Carolina team is going to continue to have those conversations moving forward to try to improve weekend in, weekend out.
Off the handle, Vestal takes care of it herself. That was Carly Shelton popping out. She is the only base runner for South Carolina, reaching on an error in the second inning.
And oftentimes they're finding themselves in good hitter leverage counts, a 2-1 count. The pressure is more on the pitcher in that situation. They have to try to bring something into the zone, so that's where as a hitter you can be even more picky about the pitches that you want to swing at when you're in a 2-1, 3-1 count. And it's so important to try to be on time with those swings because you want to keep the pressure on the pitcher as much as possible throughout the ball game. And with as quickly as Brooke Vestal has been working throughout the game, it feels like all the pressure has been on the South Carolina offense all game long.
Takes something off there. Pitch number 51. She's retired 9 straight, 34 strikes, 17 balls. There's really not a hole in the performance for Brooke Vestal today. Working on Zoe Leno. Big swing, right side, backhanded, thrown to first, and they got her. Rylan Wiggins flashing some leather.
And it helps, too, when the defense has your back. We saw Kennedy Powell make a nice couple of plays in the last inning, and Rylan Wiggins moving up the middle, gets this one on the backhand, immediately turns, plants on that right foot, and fires over to first base. A really nice play to rob Zoe Leno of a base hit.
Marissa Gonzalez with 2 outs, swings through the first pitch. Downstairs, ball 1. Try and get crafty as a batter. I mean, obviously 2 outs right now, but next inning, so we try and lay down a bunt. Do you try to just mix anything in to try and throw her off?
I think it's definitely a possibility for somebody to be able to do that. Now, granted, if it's not in your regular arsenal, then I wouldn't just try to bust it out randomly. But the one pitch that I really think is throwing the Gamecocks off is that drop ball. She throws a bit more velocity on that pitch, so it's going to come in there in the low, even to mid-60s. That's the one where she's getting them way off balance, thinking about that higher velocity pitch, and then she's bringing in the off-speed pitches. So if I'm trying to change my game plan, if I'm South Carolina, maybe I go up there and try to look for that harder drop ball, not try to sit back and wait for the off-speed spinny pitches, but go after that hard pitch down in the zone.
2-2 off the knee of Gonzalez. They'll take it any way they can get it right now. She reaches with 2 outs.
And sometimes that's all it takes. That pitch got away from Vestal there. You could see the frustration immediately after she let go of that pitch. Did not go where she wanted it to. Gets a runner on board with 2 away. She's going to see how quickly she can regroup here with Desiderio coming up to the plate.
Julia Desiderio, strikeout victim number 4, back in the 3rd inning. Swings, line shot softly to Kennedy Powell to retire the side.
For Florida, Skylar Wallace, of course, the reigning SEC Player of the Year. Jocelyn Erickson, the transfer coming over. Sydney Kuma, another one that has done a phenomenal job so far for Georgia to start off this season. So many good hitters stacked top to bottom in the FCC. Another reason why it's so difficult to come away with weekend wins when you're facing offenses like these ones that you see day in and day out in the SEC. But a lot of exciting players to watch as we move forward through the rest of the SEC regular season.
Skylar Wallace back, and that is a nightmare for SEC pitchers all over. Nico Woolley in the top of the Texas A&M order with 1 out after Kennedy Powell flied out. Two runs came in the 3rd inning. Marjetko came in a tough spot. Gave up a walk and then a 2 RBI triple to Trinity Cannon. Cannon looking to be a game winner 2 days in a row.
It was an interesting move, too, bringing in Marjetko when Coach Bev Smith did, because it was really 2 bunts in a row that allowed runners to get on base, and then she decided to make that change from Jory Hurd to Sage Marjetko.
Now ball right side, 2 quick outs here in the bottom of the 5th for Marjetko.
But besides that triple to Cannon that you just mentioned, Chucky, the freshman has been really, really good in the circle, moving the ball throughout that strike zone. Not a ton of hard contact that we've seen.
Bev Smith knows Nancy Evans really well and said that for Sage Marjetko coming to South Carolina, that was kind of a seamless transition because a lot of the same views are shared between Bev Smith and the way Nancy Evans did things, as well as her pitching coach. There's a comfort level there with Marjetko and Smith. Inside, and obviously you're trying to fill some big shoes from last year. Elena Vaughter comes in, but these freshmen and Jory Hurd as a sophomore will have to produce. Behind the plate, and tough to track, but done by Desiderio.
In the offseason, trying to boost up that velocity, especially on that drop ball. She'll get it up there low to mid 60s, and that's a pitch that I think is making a big difference in her performance today against the Gamecocks.
9-1-2 for South Carolina coming up against Vestal. That's ball 1 on the 60th pitch for her as we enter the 6th inning. Brooke Blankenship 0 for 1. 1 for 6 on the weekend with a walk. There's strike 1, catches the bottom part of the zone.
That off-speed pitch there, too, it looks really similar to the drop ball coming out of her hand, but she's just taking a few miles per hour off of that pitch, catching people really off guard in that batter's box. Good
Dips
depth.
out of the zone.
And good depth on that pitch. You can just see the deception when she's throwing, and we've talked about it all game long because I feel that we feel it up here in the booth too, how quickly Brooke Vestal's moving out there in the circle. She is really speeding the game up.
2-1 hit hard at the shortstop, Woolley. 1 out.
And you definitely feel that as a batter too. Sometimes it can make you make decisions quicker and more sped up than you would want them to. But she's felt in control of every single at-bat when she's been out there in the circle. If she falls behind early, she comes back immediately with a strike, or she finds herself ahead in the count early, and that allows her to throw pitches that are well outside of the zone. Perfect example right there, another off-speed pitch that she catches right there on the corner to get ahead.
When you say you feel that as a hitter, do you, kind of redundant, but do you notice it enough to maybe step out of the box, try and get her out of rhythm? I mean, that's one thing we really haven't seen today from South Carolina. Like, they're almost in a rhythm with her in a negative way.
I do feel like sometimes you can try to combat that as a batter by trying to be quicker than the pitcher, but to your point, Chucky, there has been opportunities where maybe you can call time, step out, just to try to slow things down a bit. I always felt that we didn't have the action clock back when I was playing, but I always tried to speed up the pitchers when I was in the batter's box. I never wanted to leave the box. I wanted the pitchers to feel like I was in there waiting on them and not the other way around.
Just waiting in the box, mean mugging them for a little bit.
I didn't like to take cuts in between pitches, too, because I always felt that whether it was the defense, the coach calling pitches, or the pitcher herself was going to try to read something off of my practice swing, so I was giving them zero information in between pitches. Absolutely nothing. No steps out of the box unless I had to take a sign. But other than that, I was planted in the box just waiting on the pitcher to throw their pitch, and a lot of it too was I like to work fast. I didn't want to give myself too much time in between pitches to think about what was coming next, just like to react.
How many times you get a bunt sign in college?
Not very often.
Strikeout number 6 for Vestal.
We've seen strikeouts on the off speeds. We've seen strikeouts on the changeups. Look at the tight spin and rotation, and that tight spin is going to deceive batters into thinking that the pitch is coming in a lot harder than it actually is, and that's where you get those swings way out in front.
Outside ball one. Vestal is just absolutely rolling right now. She got the start in their midweek game against North Texas, went 4 innings, picked up her first win of the season. She entered this weekend with a 3.59 ERA. That was the worst on the team by more than a full run, but she has fooled hitters all day long. Even yesterday, when we saw her in game 2 in relief, 4 innings, 6 strikeouts, 2 walks, no hits, no runs. She has been on it this weekend. Ground ball right side, and that's going to do it. Another 1-2-3 inning for Brooke Vestal, who has a career best 310 average last year, and not just one-upping that, but blowing that out of the water in the upper 300s, 8 home runs. Has been electric for Tricia Ford in year 2 for her in the program. Inside ball 2.
And the timeliness of that home run, of course, was incredible for Trinity Cannon. But the fact that she was 0 for 4 coming into that at-bat, but she just stuck with the process, wanted to go up there and get a pitch on the outside part of the plate, a changeup that she had struggled with against Vaughter in the previous at-bats, whether it was the day before or even in that game. She actually broke her bat swinging at a Vaughter outside changeup in game 1 against South Carolina. Obviously, the fresh bat has worked out pretty well since that broken bat in game 1.
3-0 from Marjetko. Cannon takes a 4-pitch walk off the freshman to start the 6th inning.
After hitting that triple opposite field in her previous at-bat, Marjetko trying to get her to swing at something on the inside part of the plate, maybe jam herself up. But really good plate discipline there by Cannon to go ahead and take that leadoff walk, and it looks like A&M's going to bring in a pinch runner to run for her over at first base.
Freshman Marjetko here in the ball 4 chance, and they'll count until she can deliver a strike. Haley Golden, a freshman from Pearland, Texas, scored 5 runs on the season, and she is pinch running at first base. Golden's sister Ashlyn Walls also played at A&M from 2019 to 2021. Dad Brian is an A&M grad back in 2001, so it runs in the family. Hoping Julia Cottrell can give her something to run for with nobody out. All 5 now, as you will hear from the crowd.
Crowd's just helping us keep track, right, Chucky?
And they will continue. And they're getting louder.
Great experience early in the year, too. Being in the SEC, you're going to have to deal with these crowds every single weekend. So the freshmen in the circle, I like the leadership that we just saw from South Carolina, calling time just to come together to maybe slow things down a little bit, try to tune out what she's hearing from the crowd, counting the amount of balls in a row that she's thrown to the past 2 batters.
Trying to will the 7th. There it is to end the streak. 2-1 count now for Cottrell. There are some great atmospheres and venues in the SEC and across the country. Davis Diamond is right up there. 2-1. Bunt by Cottrell. Marjetko goes to first, so the sacrifice pays off, and the insurance run is now at second.
I like the fundamental softball that we just saw right there from Cottrell. Turns to square, actually came off of the bat a little harder than I think Sage Marjetko was anticipating. One hopper bunt back to her, but got the sure out over at first base, but it does move Golden over into scoring position with just 1 away.
Ayanna Coleman swings through it, wanted that one badly. for 2 with a strikeout today. She's got some pop. Her first college hit last year was a 267-foot bomb.
Really powerful swing from the right side, does particularly well on pitches up in the zone, and guarantee that's another reason why she's getting the start 2 days in a row here against South Carolina with Marjetko in the circle. A lot of upspin on her pitches.
Look at the production they return. I mean, this is, if you're Tricia Ford trying to build a program, trying to instill a message and a culture, this is the way to do it. Return a lot of your production from last season. And then add to it key pieces like Kennedy Powell, like Jasmine Hill.
Just continuing to grow and to improve year after year to try to take that next step to not just make it to the postseason, but make a long run into the postseason, to get to super regionals, to make it to a Women's College World Series. All pieces that you try to put together in the off season and see them come together during the regular season.
Both these teams made it to a regional final last year. Here's who Texas A&M brought in to try to help them get over the hump. A couple from Arizona State that Tricia Ford was familiar with. Powell from UCLA.
Both of these teams just bringing in so much experience from different conferences across the country to come into their programs this season.
3-2 over the backstop and into the stands. Texas A&M's season last year came to an end in the Austin Regional Final to Texas. On the flip side, South Carolina lost in the region final to Florida State. There is some history between Tricia Ford and Bev Smith. The last time South Carolina went to Super Regionals was 2018. It was in Tempe, and Tricia Ford, in her second year as the head coach at Arizona State, knocked off the Gamecocks. Two pitching-minded coaches. Really enjoyed our conversations with them this week. Just two coaches you feel like have a great grip on the temperature of their program and their players as we begin SEC play. South Carolina, still some time here for them, but regardless of the result, it's going to be a good team and a tough team to handle, especially with this pitching staff.
Both of these teams, I think, moving forward, are going to learn a lot from this series. And remember, it's just weekend 1 in SEC play as A&M brings in that pinch runner.
Kramer Eshte, a junior outfielder. Brenham, Texas, that Louisiana transfer you just saw on the transfer graphic a moment ago. Keely Williams watches ball 1 outside.
We've seen the offensive lineups shift quite a bit for both of these teams throughout this weekend series, but these coaches are trying to figure out the best pieces to put together. One, to play matchups against the opposing pitcher, but also for their pitching staffs, how to utilize all of the pitchers on their staff to maximize their capabilities out there in the circle in a weekend series.
Ground ball left side, sidearm throw. Nice play on the run by Blankenship, and there's 2 outs.
You know me, Chucky, I've been waiting all game long to see that sidearm throw from Brooke Blankenship. She does such a good job over at shortstop, charges this ball. She was playing deep into the 5-6 hole, so she knew she had to throw this one on the run. And she doesn't stop her momentum as she fields that ball because of the confidence that she has in that low arm angle to be able to get rid of it quickly and get it on over to first base.
Toughest play to make as a shortstop.
Oh. Me in particular, or shortstops in general? Because I'm going to say me going back on a ball in the outfield, like one of those bloop fly balls out into left center field, those were always the toughest for me to make. I always preferred to come in on the ground balls rather than go back on the fly balls.
Okay. The consensus for shortstops then.
I would say the hardest throw to make is when you're off balance going in the 5-6 hole. Those were some of my favorite plays to make just because I often felt that I was robbing somebody of what they thought was going to be a for sure base hit. But I would say probably that long throw deep into the 5-6 hole is probably the most difficult for shortstops to make.
Shortstop with great range Pitcher's best friend. 1-2 on the way. It's high and away from Marjetko. She has been really good. Gave up the triple to Cannon, but other than that, a little bit of a jam here in the 6th. Freshman's been excellent in her SEC debuts this weekend. 2-2 to Enright, and got her with the off speed. Great pitch to strand a pair at speed for the 2nd straight day with the 2 RBI triple to plate their only 2 runs back in the 3rd inning.
Leading off the top of the 7-4 South Carolina's designated player number 27.
Vestal, part of a combined no-hitter back in 2022 and part of 2 perfect games in 2021 when she was at Oklahoma. Never a solo no-hitter at this level. 1-0 pitch coming. It won't be easy. 3-4-5 in the 7th inning. Kiana Jones will lead things off.
And this is a batter you really want to watch out for if you're Brooke Vestal. I think Kiana Jones does a really good job on off-speed pitches in particular. Likes to hit them in hitter leverage counts.
Hard hit left side. And foul ball.
Went after one of those off speeds there, 2-0 count, just barely out in front. Foul ball down that left field line. Brings the count to 2-1. Struck her out on a hard drop ball back in the 1st inning. Would not be surprised if she tries to go back to that higher velocity pitch to Jones.
2-1. Off speed, hit right side, and under the glove of the right fielder, Enright. That's going to do it. Runner up to 2nd and now headed for 3rd base and safe. Finally for South Carolina on the board with a triple.
Another example of a professional veteran at bat by Kiana Jones. This is that drop ball on the outside part of the plate. It hangs up a bit more, right about thigh high, and she drives this one out to right field. Doesn't try to get around it, doesn't try to pull it to left field, but just goes with it, hits it out to right field. A nice effort by Allie Enright, who's just not able to come up with it, but because she falls, because she dives, that allows Jones to make it all the way to 3rd base to start off this top of the 7th inning.
That's the first hit of the day, the first base runner in score.
14 batters. Those strikeout numbers have been off the charts so far for Emily Kennedy this season.
She will try to complete a combined no-hitter because in the break, they scored that E9. Error on the right fielder, Allie Enright, that's a little harsh, I have to be honest.
I'll have to take another look at it. I'm usually pretty harsh in my scorebook. I thought maybe it would go down as a base hit with a 2-base error. But it looks like they're just going ahead and scoring that one a straight up E9.
I'm harsh too, but I mean, man, you're vicious with that.
I'd have to take another look at it, you know?
Okay, all right. Stay tuned. Is a pinch hitter for South Carolina, Jen Cummings, so lefty-lefty matchup here. Emily Kennedy has added 2 wins to her resume this weekend, so what's that good for? That is good for the nation's lead and 12 on the season as Cummings swings through strike 2. Three-two. Outside, ball 4, 1st and 3rd, nobody out.
Ask and you shall receive, Checky. We're going to go ahead and take another look at this one out in right field. I don't think that one's an error. I would not call that one an error off of the glove. I put it down as a hit in my scorebook, and I'm typically pretty harsh when it comes to the scoring. I would not just go ahead and give that one a straight up E9. It did hit off of the glove, but I do think that that one would have taken more than just routine effort to make that play.
I agree. Quick conversation here. Tying run at first base. This is the situation that we've seen on countless occasions for South Carolina over the first 2 games. 17 runners left on base in those first 2. Bases loaded in each of the first 2 innings in game 1. And into left field and diving down in front of the left fielder, Williams. A run comes across for South Carolina.
Sometimes all it takes is just a different look for these offenses to feel rejuvenated in the box, and this one's 70 miles per hour, a curveball away from Carly Shelton. She has such a good opposite field swing. She doesn't try to pull that pitch to right field, but she does a nice job of letting that ball travel, utilizing the velocity that Kennedy already has on her pitches, and just dumping that one out into left field to get the Gamecocks on the board.
Big moment for the true freshman from Lexington, South Carolina. Foul ball right there, still no outs, first and second. Zoe Leno looking for her first hit of the weekend, 0 for 8 with a walk. Shows bunt, lays it down very nicely out in front of the plate to advance both runners.
Not easy to bunt off of a 72-mile-per-hour pitch with movement, so a nice job by Zoe Leno to go ahead and just sacrifice her at bat, get that bunt down into fair territory. You can see her teammates cheering her on as well. Fundamental softball right there to move both runners over into scoring position.
Second base.
Hard to tell from that angle. Remember, base runners cannot leave the base until the pitcher has released the ball. Can't tell from that angle. Now this is a couple of times that this has happened already in this series, where A&M has called a challenge on a runner leaving early from the base.
A&M clear. The call is confirmed. The runner did not leave early at second base.
Review happening from a centralized facility in Birmingham for SEC play. Let's go back to last night and look at that.
Interesting set of events here too, because you got a runner over at first base, ball hit back up the middle. She tries to advance to third. She's actually thrown out on this play, but the batter advanced all the way to second base with that throw going to third. So Texas A&M decided to challenge the runner leaving early from first base. Ended up getting that call overturned. They said that she did leave first base early, so what it did is it brought the batter back up to the plate with one away. So it ended up being the same amount of outs, but instead of having a runner on second base with one away, there was a runner back, or the batter was back up at the plate with just one away. And that's something that we've seen throughout this season already. A new rule change this year is that you can challenge and have video review on the runners leaving early. And we've seen coaches not just utilize it on stolen base attempts, but just leadoffs in general to try to completely change the game with those video replay calls.
Do you like it or not, the new change?
If I'm on the coaching staff, I'm absolutely utilizing it to the fullest. I'm trying to challenge whatever I can in those big situations, but from a viewer perspective, it's not my favorite thing to see a game completely changed just off of a video review of somebody leaving early on a leadoff.
Big swing right there and a miss. Gets Gonzalez on strikes, and there are 2 outs. Emily Kennedy and company 1 out away from an opening weekend series sweep.
Kennedy bouncing back after having a bit of difficulty finding the strike zone when she entered this ball game, but she just pumps the heat on the inside part of the plate. That curveball working in underneath the hands of those righty batters.
Right back to it, Julia Desiderio, the final chance for South Carolina. 2 total runs this weekend, 1 in game 2 and 1 today in game 3. Runners on second and third, 2 outs.
Looks like an example here of South Carolina maybe trying to slow things down, something that we talked about earlier in this ball game, Chucky. Looks like Coach Jake Epstein just calling time to come out and have a conversation with Julia Desiderio, slow things down in the at-bat because Emily Kennedy was getting fired up with every single pitch that she had been throwing.
Tricia Ford said Emily Kennedy was priority number 1 when she took the job. They thought they could put other pieces together behind her, but said it would have been devastating if she had decided to move on. Swings through it 0-2 to Desiderio. Kennedy looking for save number 3 of the season. Crowd on their feet. Fouled straight back. The Gamecocks swept in 2021, their last trip to Davis Diamond. It has not been kind this weekend, and that's low. Desiderio 1 for 5 this season with runners in scoring position. 1-2. Fights it into right field, high and caught there by Allie Enright. An opening weekend sweep for Texas A&M as they hang on to beat South Carolina 2-1.